is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Facts matter. Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who. Mr. Chair, I got a minute left, but I really want to yield to any of my colleagues and ask them if they will say today, very basically, that when it came down to the war in Ukraine, that it was not Ukraine that invaded Russia, it was the other way around. Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem.
Donald Trump is a deeply insecure man who tries to project strength and toughness, but nowhere is that facade more obvious than in his relationship with Vladimir Putin. Despite all the bold claims Trump made about getting tough on Putin or extracting concessions, Putin has consistently walked all over him. That dynamic was on full display again after a brutal bombing in Kyiv that killed several innocent Ukrainians. When Trump was asked about it during an Oval Office press conference alongside the Prime Minister of Norway, he completely unraveled. The Prime Minister's visible discomfort, even rolling her eyes, showed just how predictable and embarrassing Trump's meltdown was. Let's break down exactly what happened. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way. And it really does mean a lot to me now, before we get into what Donald Trump had to say. I want to hear from Joe Biden's former national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, who was on Rachel Maddow's show last night, breaking down just how destructive Donald Trump has been to our foreign policy.
President Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, in one of his first interviews since President Biden left office, says that from a national security perspective, in his estimation, Trump's first 100 days in office have been a, quote, unadulterated disaster. He says, quote, President Trump and his team have gone at the core American advantages in the world and systematically tried to dismantle them across all of the major dimensions of the things that have been America's major advantages. In less than 100 days, President Trump has put them all at risk. He says, quote, this is about the core foundations of American power and purpose in the world. And President Trump's effort, essentially, to knock them out. Joining us now is Jake Sullivan, former national security advisor to President Biden. Mr. Sullivan, I really appreciate you being here. I know you haven't done many interviews, and I really appreciate you being here tonight for this one.
Well, thanks a lot for having me, Rachel.
I'm struck by the stark nature of what you said when you say that President Trump is dismantling America's core advantages in the world, the things that have been our major advantages, the things that make us the power that we are. You describe him as systematically dismantling those things. What are those advantages, and do you see his work against them as being irrevocable?
Well, Rachel, I wouldn't say this. I'm not a person who usually speaks in hyperbole. I say it because I genuinely believe it. You ask, what are those advantages? And there are a few. It begins with America's unique system of alliances. No other power in the world has the strong, capable allies the United States has enjoyed for decades, and Donald Trump is intent on busting up those alliances. It's our unique capacity to attract talent from around the world. We can count on the talent of 7 billion people. China can only count on the talent of 1 billion people. But Donald Trump is casting doubt on whether we will be a welcoming place for students and researchers and people who want to come here to start companies. It's about a unique system of scientific research and innovation where the government, the private sector, and yes, research universities all come together to invent some of the most groundbreaking things of the past century. And yet he's going after basic research funding at NIH, and he's going after major universities. And finally, it's about our unique capital markets and our currency. And you saw when he did his quote-unquote Liberation Day that the world started to question whether America could really be relied upon for its capital markets and for the dollar. And underpinning all of that, of course, is our unique constitutional system underpinned by the rule of law, which, as you have quite articulately said, he's put under threat in various ways. These are the things that are distinctively American. And in less than 100 days, President Trump has gone after all of them. I don't believe anything is ever irrevocable because I believe in the capacity of the American people to reinvent and regenerate. But the damage he has done so far is significant, and it appears that there's probably more to come.
If we lose those advantages, which you just, I think, very eloquently and succinctly described, if you take those things away from America, what kind of country are we? Is there another country in the world that has any of the other characteristics that we have as a country, but not those advantages? Is there a country in the world that you think Trump is modeling us on or trying to make us more like?
Well, I mean, it certainly is taking us in the direction of a more authoritarian, more normal, more brutal great power. And that starts to look more like a China or a Russia. I mean, if you're sitting in Beijing right now and you're looking at what's happening in the United States, you're saying, we've spent a long time worried about these areas where the United States had a distinct advantage over us. We don't have the allies the U.S. had. Now it appears the American president's handing them away. We can't attract talent the way the United States does. Now France is going out and saying, hey, come to France because you're scared to go to the United States. We don't have that uniquely American innovation ecosystem.
No one could have predicted, even in the worst possible nightmare, the damage that Donald Trump would do so quickly. We knew Donald Trump would be doing damage. We knew that it would be lasting and long term, but to accomplish as many broken relationships in a complete shift of the world order away from an American exceptionalism just because of the idiocy, ego, and arrogance of one guy is just shocking. Still, it continues to disturb us every single day, and it continued even more so when Donald Trump started getting asked questions about Vladimir Putin, who he was very upset with this morning, tweeting and posting about his favorite dictator, Vlad. This isn't you. Why would you do this? Still sucking up to the murderous dictator for some reason. Well, the reason is because he's Donald Trump, but when he was pressed on that, he had a little bit of a meltdown, and then we're going to see the really shocking thing that he said.
Why are you not putting more pressure on Russia? I know a lot of Europeans...
Putting a lot of pressure. You don't know what pressure I'm putting on Russia. They're dealing. You have no idea what pressure I'm putting on Russia. We're putting a lot of pressure.
Can you maybe tell us that?
We're putting a lot of pressure on Russia, and Russia knows that, and some people that are close to it know, or he wouldn't be talking right now. The Prime Minister understands that better than anybody. He wouldn't be talking right now. He's talking, and we're putting a lot of pressure. I think he wants to make a deal. We're going to find out very soon, but it takes two to tango, and you have to have Ukraine want to make a deal too, and they're being hit very hard. And I do believe they want to make a deal.
How do we know that you're not putting more pressure on Putin? Well, because Putin's not acting like you're putting pressure on him. Putin doesn't care what you do. You're in his pocket. That has been clear this whole time. That's been clear since 2015. So yeah, that's why it seems like you're not putting pressure on him. That is observable. You don't have to do any deep digging to know that Donald Trump is the one screwing this all up. And that's clearly, of course, not what Donald Trump thinks. Guess who he thinks is responsible? I bet you're guessing Joe Biden, but no. Take another step back yet. Trump blamed Obama for this.
Mr. President, you said that the Ukraine have to give some territory to win peace, among them Crimea. Do you stand by that? And I know that the former NATO General Secretary today has told you that he does not agree and he believes in territorial integrity of the Ukraine. How will you deal with that with your allies? And do you stand by that Ukraine have to give?
Former Secretary General happens to be right here, so they can't put words in his mouth. He's been a great general, frankly. It was because that's what you are. Really, you're a general. But he's been a great Secretary General. We had a tremendous relationship, very successful, and I think he could speak for himself. He's right here.
But do you still agree that Ukraine have to give some territory away to win peace?
Well, it depends what territory. They've been fighting. They've lost a lot of territory. And we'll do the best we can. Working with Ukraine, we'll do the best we can. But they lost a lot of territory. When you say Crimea, that was handed over during a president named Barack Hussein Obama. That had nothing to do with me, Crimea. That was 11 years ago with Obama. And they made a decision. There wasn't a bullet fired. There was no fighting. There was no anything. They just handed it over. Now they say, well, can you get it back? I think that's going to be a very difficult thing to do. That was given by Barack Obama when he was president, not by Donald Trump.
Donald Trump will go so far as to not blame Vladimir Putin for Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, that it is now President Obama's fault. There was a study recently done, or a report put out, about how many times Donald Trump has been mentioning Joe Biden and President Obama. And the numbers keep going up and up and up every single day. And I talked about this during the campaign, where Donald Trump clearly wanted to go back to the past when he felt that he was more in control of things, that he was more popular, more liked. All he had to do was just attack Joe Biden, lie about Joe Biden, lie about Barack Obama, and now he is facing the music of the reality of his own disaster presidency. And so he's leaning on that again because it's where he feels comfortable, as everything is falling apart. And speaking of falling apart, Donald Trump was pressed on the economy and had some lies about it.
You know, if you look at what happened, everyone said, oh, I said I was going to get prices down. I did. Energy just hit $1.98 in a couple of states. It's way down. Energy's down, and we're about $64 a barrel. When I came in, and we were looking at $89, $90, $95. And by the way, that helps us solve the war too. Having those energy prices is a big incentive for Russia to also agree with solving the war problem. Groceries are down. When I was with you 2 months ago, you were complaining about eggs. I said, I just got here. I was here for about a week when the press started saying about eggs have gone through the roof. I said, I just got here. Tell me about eggs. And they happened. They went through the roof, and you couldn't get them. So we just had a big Easter egg hunt at the White House. Thousands and thousands of eggs. And the price was down 87%. So we did a great job.
The silence is always so deafening. Republicans refuse to admit, refuse to say, refuse to state, refuse to acknowledge the truth. They won't call Russia's invasion of Ukraine a Russian invasion of Ukraine. That's all you need to know. That's what side of this thing they're on. And it's the reason we saw that prime minister so uncomfortable the whole time, just sitting there. He's like, am I going to get attacked? Is this all going to go poorly? I'm sure that's how every world leader feels, unfortunately, because this is the country that we've built, and we got to call it out every single day. And if you want to support that, we're doing it on this show. You can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I'll see you soon.